The same people who couldn't handle your truth will swear they deserved access to your life. Let them talk. Your elevation is their exposure. My dear chosen ones, let's start here. The louder your power becomes, the more it rattles the ones who thought you'd stay small. That's the part nobody warns you about. The moment you rise, the shadows start whispering. The moment you awaken, the insecure start trembling. But hear me clearly. This is not your problem. This is your proof. Proof that you were never built for the masses. Proof that your path was never meant to be crowded. And proof that the world can want you, crave you, even chase you. But that doesn't mean they're entitled to you. You see, chosen ones, here's the idiom that defines your life. Too much gold in your hands and suddenly everyone wants to be a miner. They see your shine and mistake it for permission. They see your calm and take it for softness. They see your growth and assume they helped build it. But let's get one thing straight. You didn't come this far just for anyone to stroll into your life like it's open seating. Some people want you because your energy makes their empty spaces feel less hollow. Others want you because standing next to you makes them look bigger than they are. But neither group understands the truth that keeps echoing through your journey. You are not universal access. You were never meant to be the key that fits every lock, the answer to every lonely heart, or the remedy for anyone avoiding their own self-work. Before we move forward, my dear chosen ones, take a moment to support the very message that's supporting you. If this energy is hitting home, if it's opening your eyes, lifting your spirit, or reminding you of the power you carry, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue creating the kind of inspiring, life-shifting, and empowering content that speaks directly to your journey. Every like, every subscription, every comment tells us that this message matters, and it fuels us to keep bringing you the clarity, motivation, and strength you deserve. Chosen ones, you have to understand why your presence hits so hard. Humans crave what feels rare, yet they fear what they cannot shape, and you, whether you admit it or not, are both. Rare enough to attract desire, powerful enough to trigger insecurity. That combination, it lights up a room while simultaneously shaking the weak at their core. You walk in quietly, but the atmosphere shifts like it recognizes you before anyone else does. Your energy has its own gravity, its own signal, its own frequency that people tune into even when they don't know why. You've seen it. How some stare like they're trying to decode you. How others approach you like someone testing a locked door, tugging, knocking, assuming it'll open just because they want it to. But here's the line they fail to grasp. Your life is not a public entrance. Access to you is earned, not assumed. Chosen ones, maybe you've questioned yourself before. Why do people stare? Why do strangers attach themselves to me? Why do I feel watched, wanted, or misunderstood? It's because your energy doesn't arrive quietly. It arrives honestly. And honesty is a luxury most people can't afford. They love the idea of someone who is calm yet powerful, grounded yet untouchable, present yet mysterious. But when they meet the reality of you, a person who thinks deeply, moves intentionally, and refuses to shrink, they realize they're not equipped for that level of authenticity. You weren't chosen to be popular. You were chosen to be aligned. You were chosen to be exact, intentional, and unshakable. That's why your life feels like a contradiction. You attract crowds, but bond with a few. You inspire many, but confide in almost no one. You brighten rooms, but never belong to the noise inside them. They see grace, but they don't see the self-discipline, the boundaries, the quiet rebuilding that got you there. This isn't about who wants you. It's about who can meet you. It's about understanding that desire doesn't equal alignment, and access doesn't equal worthiness. The world may want pieces of your light, but that doesn't mean they deserve to stand in its full glow. So settle in, chosen ones, because what you're about to learn next will shift how you see your value, your boundaries, and your power forever. The truth hits hard, but it hits hardest for the ones who thought you were meant for them. And now let's talk about why being wanted by many means nothing, when you were never meant for everyone. Chosen ones, before we go any deeper, let me speak directly to the power sitting on the other side of this screen, you. Your presence here isn't random, it's resonance. If this message is already stirring something inside you, if you're recognizing pieces of your own journey in every line, then show your alignment. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a 77 in the comments so we know you're one of the rare ones who truly gets it. Your support keeps this channel creating the kind of sharp, motivating, truth-filled content that speaks to the chosen, not the crowd. And now, let's step into the truth of why everyone wants you, but why only a few are ever meant to keep up with your path. Number 1. You're not difficult to reach. You're impossible to dilute. You're not hard to get. You're impossible to redesign. People don't get angry because you're out of reach. They get angry because their hands don't have the skill to reshape someone who wasn't built for them. My dear chosen ones, let this sink into your bones. You were never the problem. You were never too much, too distant, or too selective. The real issue is that the world keeps trying to convert you into a version that benefits them, not a version that honors you. And when you don't bend, when you don't shrink, when you don't collapse into the shape they prefer, that's when their frustration begins. Not because you're unavailable, but because you're uncontrollable. Chosen ones, you've probably asked yourself before, why do people say I'm hard to approach? Why do they act like I'm complicated? And the answer is far simpler and far more powerful than you think. You're not resisting people. You're resisting distortion. You're not avoiding connection. You're avoiding becoming a watered-down version of yourself just to make someone else comfortable. You're not distant. You're discerning. And in a world that hands out access too freely, your discernment feels like a locked vault. Most people bend themselves like soft wire to fit into situations, relationships, or expectations that weren't even built for them. They dilute their opinions, shrink their values, rearrange their identity just to avoid conflict or win temporary acceptance. But you, my chosen ones, you were crafted differently. You don't bend, you align, and alignment is expensive. Only a few have the depth, patience, and maturity to afford it. Many try, most fail. When people meet you, something inside them shakes. They realize, often faster than they admit, that they cannot shape you. They cannot mold you like clay. They cannot twist your boundaries or manipulate your emotions into serving their insecurities. You don't respond to pressure, you respond to purpose. You don't adjust to fit someone's narrative, you adjust to protect your integrity. That's why they call you difficult. Not because you are, but because manipulation doesn't work on you. Influence doesn't work on you. Emotional games don't work on you. And in a world addicted to control, that makes you a threat. In today's society, validation is currency. People trade authenticity for approval every day. They post versions of themselves for applause. They perform, exaggerate, and pretend. And here you are, walking through the world with an authenticity that doesn't beg for permission. Do you know how unsettling that is to someone who depends on attention for self-worth? It exposes every insecurity they try to hide. Chosen ones, your identity isn't clay, it's architecture. It's rooted, structured, intentional. You didn't build yourself overnight. You built yourself through boundaries, lessons, self-reflection, and the courage to outgrow anything that tried to shrink you. That's why you're stable in a world full of wobbling foundations. And stability, when placed next to instability, becomes a mirror people can't escape. Some admire you for it, others resent you for it, but all of them feel you deeply. And here's the part they'll never admit out loud. They don't want you. They want the version of you that makes them feel big, important, or in control. But when they realize you weren't designed to play small, when they see that you don't chase, don't beg, don't collapse under attention, that's when the panic sets in. Because they finally understand something they overlooked. You're not programmable. You were chosen because you're not an echo. You're a signature, unique, unrepeated, and impossible to counterfeit. Your authenticity wakes people up. It stirs something dormant in them, something real, something raw. But that same authenticity demands they show up honestly too. And most people only know how to perform, not how to be real. That's why they run or freeze or get defensive. You're not mysterious, they just can't reach the level you're thinking on. Chosen ones, hear this with your whole being. You will always attract many, but you will only bond with the few who value connection over control. The ones who don't want to redesign you, but want to stand beside you. The ones who don't chase access, they earn it. That is your power. You're not hard to get. You're hard to convert, and that alone makes you untouchably rare. Number 2, you don't blend in. You reveal every place that was too small for you. You weren't born to blend in, you were born to expose the cracks. Some people walk into a room and disappear into the crowd. You walk into a room and suddenly the crowd realizes what it's been hiding from. My dear chosen ones, let this truth settle deep within you. The reason you've never felt like you belonged is because belonging was never your assignment. You weren't shaped to fit into anyone's mold, expectation, or comfort zone. You weren't created to blend, dilute, or camouflage your essence just to make other people feel at ease. Your presence was designed to disrupt illusion, expose what's real, and bring clarity where people rely on confusion to survive. That's the burden and brilliance of being chosen. Most people spend their entire lives chasing a feeling of belonging. They adjust, adapt, compress themselves into smaller versions just to be accepted by circles that never truly saw them. They follow scripts, mirror behaviors, and compromise values just to avoid standing alone. But you, chosen one, you operate on a completely different frequency. You don't chase rooms, you transform them. You don't seek approval, you reveal truth. You don't adapt to environments, you expose them. When you walk into a space, something happens that people can't fully explain. Conversations shift, masks slip, pretenses crack. The energy changes like someone opened a window in a room that was holding stale air for years. Your presence makes it impossible for inauthenticity to survive comfortably. And that's why people react so strongly to you. Some drawn like magnets, others shaken like they just heard a truth they weren't ready for. Chosen ones, you've probably asked yourself, why do I feel out of place everywhere? Why does it seem like I don't blend in no matter how hard I try? The answer is simple. You weren't chosen to fit in. You were chosen to expose the places that never fit you. Your very existence highlights the gaps people pretend aren't there. You reveal what they skip over, ignore, or bury beneath convenience. And this doesn't make you difficult, it makes you catalytic. You don't walk into rooms seeking comfort, you walk into rooms carrying clarity. And clarity is confrontational to those who've built their lives on pretense. People want your charisma, your energy, your presence. But very few can handle your depth. They love the glow, but fear the truth behind it. They admire the aura, but avoid the accountability it awakens. They want access to your light, but they don't want to confront the shadows it exposes. Your power doesn't lie in fitting in. It lies in standing out in a way that forces others to see what they've avoided. You are a revelation in human form. You make people face the corners they've ignored, the doubts they suppressed, the dreams they abandoned, the insecurities they denied. You don't blend, you illuminate, and illumination isn't always comfortable. It's necessary. That's why only a select few can truly stay close to you. Not because you're exclusive by choice, but because your presence demands authenticity, honesty, and growth. Most people fail this test before they even start. It's not that they don't like you, they can't withstand the truth they feel around you. They admire from a distance because distance is safer. Proximity to someone like you requires self-awareness, and not everyone is willing to meet themselves that deeply. Do not mistake this for isolation, chosen one. This is separation, the natural separation between the crowd and the aligned, the ordinary and the rare, the ones who pretend and the ones who awaken. You weren't chosen to merge with the masses. You were chosen to redefine the spaces around you simply by existing in them. You don't just stand out, you reset the entire frequency of any environment you enter. You don't just show up, you expose what's real. You don't just live, you reveal. And that, my dear chosen one, is exactly why not everyone can walk beside you. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to show where fitting in was impossible. And that truth is the very core of your power. Number 3. Your presence doesn't impress people. It exposes them. Your energy doesn't just speak. It reveals what people tried to hide from themselves. Nothing exposes a person faster than standing in front of someone they cannot deceive. My dear chosen ones, this is where your power becomes undeniable. The moment someone steps into your presence, something subtle but seismic happens inside them. Their masks loosen, their rehearsed lines fall apart, their carefully polished persona begins to crack. Not because you're interrogating them, not because you're demanding truth from them, but because your energy doesn't allow anything fake to breathe near it. You are a living mirror, and mirrors don't flatter, they reflect. They reveal, they confront. People don't see you when they first meet you. They see themselves, often for the first time, without filters, excuses, or narratives to hide behind. And that is exactly why reactions to your presence are never neutral. You'll notice it. Some people lean in, some lean back, and some simply break. Because chosen ones, your energy shows people the version of themselves they've been avoiding. Most humans live behind layers, polished smiles, curated personalities, emotional disguises that help them survive in a world terrified of authenticity. But you walk in carrying truth like it's oxygen. You aren't performing, you aren't pretending, you aren't adjusting yourself to fit anyone's comfort zone. That alone disrupts every illusion around you. Your presence doesn't demand people change. It reveals that they can't stay the same if they want to stay near you. And that is where the discomfort begins. When someone meets a chosen one, their subconscious panics because it recognizes instantly that its excuses will not hold up in your light. They feel exposed, even if you haven't said a single word. As if your presence whispers to their spirit, "This is who you really are." Are you ready to face it? Most aren't. That's why some people get intimidated without knowing why others become defensive out of nowhere, why some admire you passionately while others avoid you like a shadow dodging the sun. They think it's about you, but it's never about you. It's about what you awaken in them. Your energy doesn't accommodate lies. It doesn't soften truth. It doesn't bend itself to protect anyone's ego. Even your silence carries honesty. And honesty, chosen ones, is a rare frequency, one that people crave but also fear. You are the person who unintentionally reveals the corners others tried to keep dim. You show them the potential they abandoned, the flaws they ignored, the dreams they buried, the fears they masked. You don't push them toward transformation, yet being around you makes transformation feel unavoidable. Some people run from that because self-awareness feels like a threat to someone who survives on denial. Others become obsessed, almost magnetized, because there is nothing more intoxicating than being seen clearly, even if it stings. That's why you attract intense reactions, polarizing responses, or people who cling too fast. They want the clarity you naturally radiate, but most don't understand that clarity always comes with a cost. They must face themselves. Chosen ones understand something deeply. People don't desire you because you're charming, mysterious, or impressive. They desire you because your presence wakes up the part of them that refuses to settle, the part that wants honesty, the part that's tired of pretending. But here's the truth that sets your path apart. Only those ready to confront their reflection can stay close to you. Everyone else eventually pulls away, blames you, misinterprets you, or decides you're too much. Not because you are too much, but because they are not enough for the level of truth you carry effortlessly. You are not meant for casual consumption. You are not for surface-level connections. Your energy demands depth, awareness, and emotional maturity. That's why you're selective without even trying. That's why certain people drain around you. They feel the weight of their own inauthenticity. That's why others glow around you. They feel the rise of their dormant potential. Being chosen means this: you don't simply meet people, you reveal them. You don't play their emotional games. You make the games irrelevant. You don't shrink to make them comfortable. Your very presence challenges them to rise. You are a mirror that shows people not only who they are, but who they could become, if they had the courage to stop pretending. And that, chosen ones, is why they want you, fear you, admire you, resist you, and chase you. Not because you're ordinary, but because you're the reflection they can't escape. Number 4. Your energy pulls everyone in, but only the balanced ever stay. You draw crowds because you heal, but you keep only a few, because you refuse to be anyone's painkiller. My dear chosen ones, here's the truth most people whisper about you, but never say out loud. You make people feel better just by existing. Your presence alone eases tensions they didn't even realize were weighing them down. Your energy is like a quiet reset button, soft enough to calm chaos, strong enough to steady someone who's been spiraling internally, and rare enough that people cling to it without understanding why. You've probably noticed how people lean in closer when you speak, how their shoulders drop when you enter the room, how their voice steadies when you look them in the eye. That's not an accident. That's your frequency doing what it naturally does, bringing order to disorder, clarity to confusion, and comfort to the wounded spaces that most people don't have the courage to face. But here's where the story shifts. Chosen ones, while everyone feels drawn to you, you do not feel pulled toward everyone. Why? Because unlike the crowd, you don't confuse attraction with alignment. You don't chase attention. You don't cling to people for validation. You don't spread yourself thin to be liked. You don't perform, pretend, or manufacture charm to keep people close. People feel healed simply by being in your presence. But you keep very few because your soul refuses to carry what others refuse to confront in themselves. You see, chosen one, your energy exposes something uncomfortable in most people. They want the relief you bring, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. They want your calm, but not your standards. They want your validation, but not your boundaries. They want the light, but not the growth required to stand beside it without relying on it. Most people approach relationships like bandages. They want someone who can temporarily cover the wound, not someone who forces them to clean it, treat it, and heal it for real. This is why so many feel magnetized to you, but walk away confused, frustrated, or even intimidated. They expected you to fix them. They expected you to carry what they've been avoiding. They expected your empathy to turn into obligation. And when they realized you weren't going to play nurse for their unresolved wounds, they didn't know what to do. Because most people don't want healing. They want relief. They want distraction. They want a place to collapse without accountability. But chosen ones, your soul wasn't built to be anyone's emotional crutch. You can soothe, but you don't enable. You can guide, but you don't carry. You can help, but you don't hand out shortcuts. That's exactly why you attract so many but keep so few. People come toward you because your presence reminds them of what they've been missing: peace, alignment, clarity, depth, truth. You awaken parts of them they've neglected. You shine light in corners they've ignored. You represent the groundedness they crave but have not cultivated. And instead of doing the work, they try to access your energy as if it's a healing station they can plug into whenever their life gets overwhelming. But my dear chosen ones, your energy is sacred. It is intentional. It is not up for negotiation. And that boundary alone eliminates 90% of the people who reach for you, because being chosen means you understand something fundamental. Influence does not equal availability. Just because you have the ability to heal does not mean everyone deserves healing from you. Just because you can calm chaos does not mean you should be surrounded by it. And just because your presence brings clarity does not mean you owe clarity to anyone who demands it. You heal by standing in your truth, not by sacrificing yourself. You uplift by example, not by exhaustion. You strengthen others by being aligned, not by abandoning your own alignment to rescue them. That's why people want you in theory. They love the idea of someone who listens deeply, understands quietly, and radiates peace without effort. But only a rare few can handle the reality. You will not reduce yourself to soothe someone else's neglect. You keep very few because connection with you requires maturity, balance, accountability, and reciprocity. Not everyone is ready for that. Not everyone wants that. Most people don't want to grow. They want someone who grows for them. But chosen ones, you are not their medication. You are not here to numb people's problems. You are the blueprint for self-awareness, self-possession, and self-respect. You don't fix people. You inspire them to fix themselves. And that is exactly why everyone wants you. But only a very select few ever truly get close. Number 5. People crave your clarity until it confronts their comfort. Your clarity attracts crowds, but only the brave can stand in its light. Clarity doesn't scare people because it's harsh. Clarity scares them because it exposes the excuses they were hoping you wouldn't notice. My dear chosen ones, understand something powerful about yourself. People don't desire you because you're charming, or mysterious, or magnetic, though you are all of those things. They desire you because you bring clarity. The kind that slices through illusions, the kind that forces truth to show its face, the kind that reveals what's been hiding behind emotional smoke and mirrors. You don't even have to try. Your energy itself is a spotlight, and the moment you step into someone's life, things become visible in ways they were never ready for. But here's where the story twists. Clarity wakes people up, yes, but waking up isn't comfortable. And most of the world lives in a permanent state of emotional sleepwalking. They don't want to confront their patterns, their lies, their inconsistencies. They want comfort. They want ambiguity, because ambiguity gives them room to avoid responsibility. But chosen ones, you are responsibility. You are truth. You are the reality check they never asked for, but cannot forget. People come near you expecting warmth, a spark, maybe even admiration. What they don't expect is to be seen so clearly that their defenses fall apart. They don't expect their excuses to sound weak in your presence. They don't expect their illusions to crack like glass the moment you speak. But that is the power of being chosen. You don't do illusions. You don't sugarcoat. You don't hand out comforting lies wrapped in soft edges. You give reality the way reality was meant to be understood. Straight, sharp, undeniable. Chosen ones, your clarity is like a flashlight in a dark room. Suddenly the dust, the clutter, the things hiding in corners people pretend aren't there, they all become visible. You don't even shine the light intentionally. You are the light. And that's exactly why people feel both drawn to you and exposed by you. They chase the glow, but fear the reflection. You've probably noticed this tension your whole life. People come toward you with admiration, fascination, even desire, because your presence reminds them of who they could be. You awaken something inside them they've long ignored, their own potential, their own truth, their own accountability. But the same force that awakens also confronts. And while the soul might crave clarity, the ego fears it. That's why you see people get flustered, defensive, or even irritated around you without any logical reason. You didn't attack them. You exposed what they were trying to protect. Most people are comfort seekers. They build soft emotional nests made of half-truths, excuses, and narratives that make their lives easier to digest. But you, chosen one, you disrupt those nests simply by existing. You enter, and suddenly their comfortable fog becomes a clear sky. And clarity demands action. It demands change. It demands growth. Not everyone is ready for that. And that's why they say you're intense. That's why they say you're too real. That's why some admire you publicly, but retreat privately. Your presence is not entertainment, it is evolution. And evolution requires shedding old layers, old stories, old versions of themselves. Many are fascinated by that process, but only a few are willing to participate in it. This is why so many desire you, but so few can remain close. Desire does not equal compatibility. Wanting your light is not the same as being able to live in it. People can chase your glow from a distance, but to stand beside you requires courage they haven't developed yet. And that's not your burden to carry. Chosen ones, hear this clearly. You were chosen because your clarity separates noise from truth, illusions from intentions, and temporary people from aligned ones. You don't dilute your message to comfort the fragile. You don't soften your truth to soothe insecurity. You don't dim your light just because some eyes aren't ready for brightness. You exist as you are, fully, unapologetically, unmistakably. People desire you because you reveal what's real, but only the strong, the self-aware, and the willing can survive in that reality. And that is exactly why you're not for everyone, and exactly why you were chosen. Number 6, you never settle. You simply refuse anything that shrinks your power. You don't choose less. You choose what refuses to dim you. People call you picky until they realize you're simply refusing to shrink for someone who can't stretch. My dear chosen ones, let's tear the mask off this truth. The world doesn't get angry because you want more. It gets angry because you refuse to settle for less. You are not built to play small, fold quietly, or squeeze yourself into spaces that insult your potential. And that alone makes you a threat to anyone who benefits from your compliance. You live in a world where people confuse settling with stability, comfort with connection, and convenience with compatibility. They shrink their standards just to avoid being alone. They bend their values just to keep the peace. They trade their worth for approval, their dreams for validation, and their identity for acceptance. But you, chosen one, you don't flinch, you don't fold, you don't dilute yourself to be more palatable to someone who can't handle your power. You don't choose less, not because you're arrogant, but because you understand what less actually costs. You've seen the price people pay when they settle, the slow erosion of self-respect, the quiet drain of energy, the unspoken regret that builds like dust in the corners of their life. You've watched people sell their future for the comfort of familiar disappointment. That's why you refuse it. You refuse to betray yourself for temporary companionship. You refuse to let anyone siphon your ambition, mute your purpose, or crowd your intuition. You refuse to shrink because shrinking isn't humility, it's self-betrayal. Chosen ones, your standards are not walls, they are filters. They don't keep the world out, they keep the wrong world out. Everything you choose, every decision you make, every boundary you draw is intentional. It's not based on who likes you, who approves of you, or who demands access. It's based on who aligns with you. You choose based on resonance, not pressure. Purpose, not persuasion. Expansion, not convenience. That alone places you on a wavelength most people never learn to tune into. And yes, your selectiveness intimidates people who expect compliance. They want someone who folds easily, bends quickly, and adjusts instantly to their insecurities. They want someone they can influence, shape, or manage. But when they meet you, someone who doesn't move unless it aligns with your inner truth, they feel exposed. They realize you're not auditioning for their approval. You're not negotiating your worth. You're not interested in performing for acceptance. That shakes them to their core. The truth is, many people are fascinated by you because you choose with conviction. They admire the aura you carry, the clarity, the confidence, the unwavering self-respect. But admiration doesn't mean compatibility. Most people want the benefits of your brilliance without the responsibility of matching your level. They want your presence, but not the self-reflection it demands. They want your light, but not the discipline required to stand beside someone who refuses to dim. My dear chosen ones, choosing what doesn't shrink you is not a luxury. It's a requirement of your path. You were chosen for elevation, not stagnation. You were chosen for alignment, not appeasement. Your destiny demands strength, clarity, and a level of self-possession the average person is not ready to embody. That's why your life cannot be copied or casually understood. You move in ways that make sense only to those who recognize the weight of purpose. You rise in ways that require a different kind of character. You choose in ways that separate the temporary from the timeless. You don't lower your standards to meet someone else halfway. You elevate your environment to protect your evolution. Anyone who cannot rise with you is simply not meant to walk with you. And that's not loss, that's alignment, that's clarity, that's the very proof that you're not for everyone, and never were. The crowd settles, the chosen ascend, and that distinction, chosen one, is exactly why your path remains powerful, protected, and profoundly rare. Number 7. Your aura sparks ambition in some and insecurity in others. Your presence doesn't just enter the room, it sets off alarms. Jealousy isn't born from what you lack, it's born from what your existence forces others to confront. My dear chosen ones, let's tell the truth with no filter. Your presence is not neutral. You don't walk into a room quietly, even when you say nothing. You don't blend into the background, even when you try. You don't slip into environments unnoticed. You activate them. Your energy doesn't arrive, it erupts. It shifts the atmosphere like someone opened a window in a stale room. And people feel it instantly, whether they admit it or not. Some feel awakened by you, others feel threatened by you, but none stay unchanged. Chosen ones, people don't react to you. They react to what your presence reveals inside them. There's a difference. Some step into your frequency and feel their own ambitions spark back to life. They see your focus, your alignment, your refusal to operate below your potential, and something in them whispers, "This is who I should have been." Not in envy, but in recognition. Your energy shakes the dust off their dormant potential. Your discipline calls out their excuses. Your clarity makes their confusion impossible to hide. And even if they can't fully explain it, They feel something inside them waking up after years of being ignored. These are the ones who rise in your presence, the ones who don't feel threatened but challenged in the best way. You are not their competitor, you are their catalyst. Just being around you reminds them of the standard they stopped holding themselves to. But chosen ones, not everyone responds with elevation. Some respond with irritation, and not because you've done anything wrong. You simply exist in truth, and truth is uncomfortable for those who've been avoiding it. You trigger the insecurities they've been hiding behind polished smiles and empty confidence. You make them look at the effort they haven't made, the growth they avoided, the ambition they abandoned. And instead of rising, they resent the reminder. They want what you have, but they refuse the work required to have it. They admire your confidence, but despise the fact that you earned it. They want your strength, but hate the reflection it shows them about their own weakness. Your energy becomes a spotlight on every corner they've kept in shadow. Your presence becomes a mirror they didn't ask for, but can't escape. And jealousy, my chosen ones, is simply insecurity wearing a louder costume. That's why some people try to compete with you without cause. That's why they copy you, but resent you. That's why they watch you closely, yet pretend not to see you. It's because your existence disrupts their comfort zone, and comfort for them is survival. But here's the truth. You don't trigger jealousy because you're boastful. You trigger jealousy because you're undeniable. Chosen ones, you don't dim, shrink, or contort yourself just to make someone else less uncomfortable. You weren't chosen to play small so others could feel tall. You weren't chosen to dull your edge so others could avoid sharpening theirs. You weren't chosen to hide so others could pretend. Your presence is a filter. It separates the ones who are ready to grow from the ones who are terrified of being exposed, the aligned rise, the insecure retreat, and the jealous. They hover, unable to stay close but unable to walk away. You didn't choose these reactions. Your authenticity created them. Your consistency created them. Your refusal to lower yourself created them. That's why people either evolve around you or reveal themselves around you. And that, chosen ones, is why your circle remains selective. You don't bond with everyone because not everyone can withstand the reflection you offer. Some crave your energy but resist the accountability it demands. Some admire your strength but resent the work behind it. Some desire your presence but cannot match your maturity. Being chosen means your energy is not passive, it is catalytic. It doesn't just attract, it transforms, it exposes, it awakens. And only those willing to confront themselves can truly stand in your orbit without collapsing under their own shadows. You don't just enter rooms, my chosen ones. You recalibrate them. Number 8. You stand alone without crumbling, and that terrifies the dependent. You stand alone without crumbling, and that's exactly why they can't replace you. My dear chosen ones, remember this. Isolation breaks the pretenders, but it builds the unstoppable. There is a reason people study you from a distance, whisper about your silence, and question how you can walk through life without clinging to anyone for emotional oxygen. It confuses them. It intimidates them. It exposes them. Because in a world full of people who collapse the moment applause fades, you continue to stand, steady, grounded, and untouched. And that, right there, is one of the clearest signs that you are not made from the same material as the crowd. Most people fear solitude because without noise, they're forced to hear their own thoughts. Without company, they're forced to face their own patterns. Without attention, they're forced to confront the truth they've been avoiding. But you, chosen one, you don't run from silence, you expand in it. You don't crumble in empty rooms, you come alive in them. While others need validation to remember who they are, you only need a moment to reconnect with the core you've built through experience, discipline, and self-respect. People measure themselves through approval. You measure yourself through alignment. They chase belonging. You chase clarity. They cling to crowds. You create space. And it's that very difference that turns your solitude into strength while turning their solitude into fear. Chosen ones, you are not afraid to be by yourself because you don't disappear when no one is watching. You remain whole. You remain intact. You remain you. And when you move through the world with that kind of self-possession, people feel it. They see it in the way you carry yourself, quiet but certain, calm but unshakable. You walk into a room like someone who doesn't need validation to exist. That confidence is magnetic. It attracts admiration from those who wish they had your discipline. But it also triggers insecurity in those who need others to hold them together. Your independence exposes a truth many people spend their lives avoiding. They rely on external attachment to avoid internal collapse. They depend on attention the way some depend on air. But you breathe differently. Your foundation isn't built on applause, relationships, or temporary validation. Your foundation is built on resilience, on the nights you kept yourself together, on the moments you chose self-worth over company, on the days you stood alone rather than bend just to belong. Chosen ones understand something vital. Your ability to stand alone is not a coincidence. It's a signal, a marker, a proof of your distinction. People may mislabel it as coldness or distance, but that's because they've never met someone who doesn't crumble when left with their own thoughts. You don't seek company to fill a void. You seek connection that adds value. You don't accept proximity out of fear. You choose it out of alignment. You don't cling, you select. And that right there separates the ordinary from the exceptional. Your independence filters people with surgical precision. Those who are insecure can't handle the reflection you offer. Those who are needy can't handle the boundaries you carry. Those who are clingy can't handle the stability you embody. Only the ones who are whole within themselves can walk beside someone as complete as you. That's why your circle is small, not because you can't find people, but because most people can't find themselves. Chosen ones, your solitude is not an empty space. It's a fortress. It's a training ground. It's a declaration that you are not tethered to anyone else for identity. And the world feels that power even when you say nothing. It's why people who barely know you still sense that you're built differently. It's why they wonder how you stay calm when they would have shattered. It's why they want access to your world, because your strength reveals their gaps and your silence reveals their noise. Standing alone doesn't mean you lack support. It means you don't crumble when support is absent. It means you've developed the kind of internal stability that no external chaos can shake. And when you finally choose to connect, it's not out of desperation. It's out of intention. Only those strong enough to stand with you, not lean on you, will ever earn a lasting place in your life. My dear chosen ones, you were never meant to break in isolation. You were meant to rise in it. Your ability to remain whole without a crowd is not weakness, it is your signature strength. It is the proof that while the world may want you, only a rare few will ever be able to walk beside someone as complete as you. And that is exactly why you were chosen. Number 9, people chase you because you move like tomorrow while they're stuck in yesterday. You move like tomorrow while they're still arguing with yesterday. People don't fall behind because you move too fast. They fall behind because they keep walking backward while you're already building what they only dare to imagine. My dear chosen ones, listen closely, because this truth is one of the sharpest edges of your journey. People chase you not because they understand you, but because you feel like the future. There's something about your presence that hints at what's coming next, an energy that whispers possibility, progress, elevation. You move with a rhythm most people can't identify, let alone match. You think in angles they've never considered. You evolve in ways they haven't even realized are necessary. And whether they admit it or not, being near you feels like standing in the doorway of the next chapter of their life. But here's the twist that exposes everything. They want the future you represent, but they're still loyal to the past that's holding them hostage. Chosen ones, you carry a frequency built from growth, self-awareness, and constant evolution. You don't cling to who you were last year, last month, or even last week. You're always refining, elevating, upgrading your perspective. Your decisions come from clarity, not fear. Your movement comes from alignment, not approval. And your vision isn't a fantasy. It's a blueprint, structured and alive inside your mind long before the world understands it. You are possibility in human form. That's why people chase you. Not because they see you clearly, but because they sense something in you that's missing in themselves. They see your discipline, your direction, your ability to reinvent your life without losing yourself. They see someone who doesn't just survive circumstances, someone who shapes reality with intention. You're not just living life, you're designing it, and that's intoxicating. But chosen ones, here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of the people who want you are operating from the rear-view mirror. They're replaying old memories, repeating old patterns, reliving old wounds, and redefining their identity through the same outdated stories they refuse to let go of. Their life is a loop, but yours is a trajectory. They're stuck in nostalgia, resentment, or fear, while you're moving in innovation, expansion, and possibility. They want to stand next to someone evolving, but they refuse to evolve themselves. They want to feel what the future feels like, without doing the inner work required to arrive there. They want the proximity, not the responsibility. And that's why so many chase you, but so few keep up. You are wanted by many, chosen one, but understood by an exceptionally small number. Most people want what you symbolize, not what you actually are. They're attracted to your ambition, your clarity, your constant becoming, but they can't release the past long enough to walk beside you in the present. They see you as a destination rather than a direction. But you aren't a dream to acquire. You are a direction to align with, a timeline, not a trophy. And aligning with a timeline requires courage. It requires shedding old identities, stepping out of comfortable illusions, and letting go of the past that feels familiar even when it hurts. Not everyone is ready for that level of transformation. Not everyone can stand in the same momentum you naturally carry. Being chosen means living in forward motion. It means not allowing your life to be anchored by outdated expectations or old versions of yourself. Your energy is rare because it doesn't stagnate. It doesn't linger in what was. It moves toward what could be, and that movement alone separates you from environments, relationships, and people that are still rehearsing yesterday. Yes, chosen one, you attract admiration, curiosity, even obsession, but that doesn't equal compatibility. Only those willing to release their past, step into their own evolution, and match your frequency of growth are capable of walking by your side. Not everyone is meant to access where you're going. Not everyone is ready for your timeline. You're not just living the moment, you're living the momentum. You're sculpting the future with every choice you make, every standard you uphold, every layer of your past you outgrow. And that, more than anything, is why you are chased, but rarely matched. And as we step back from this truth, chosen ones, remember this. Not everyone can stand beside someone who walks with the future in their stride. If this message opened your eyes, fueled your strength, or reminded you of who you truly are, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop 77 in the comments to show you're aligned with this journey. And don't keep this energy to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to understand why being wanted doesn't mean being meant for everyone.